became the commander-in-chief of the demons. In the beginning of the battle, the demigods prepared to defeat the demons. Indra, king of heaven, fought with Vali and other demigods like Vayu, Agni, and Varuna fought against other leaders of the demons. In this fight, the demons were defeated, and to save themselves from death, they began to manifest many illusions through material maneuvers, killing many soldiers on the side of the demigods. The demigods, finding no other recourse, surrendered again to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, who then appeared and counteracted all the illusions presented, uh, by the jugglery of the demons. Heroes among the demons, such as Kalinemi and Mali, Sumali, and Malyavan, fought the Supreme Personality of Godhead and were all killed by the Lord. The demigods were thus freed from all dangers. Well, that's good news. Text number 1. Sukadeva Goswami said, O king, the demons and daityas all engaged with full attention and effort in churning the ocean, but because they were not devotees of Vasudeva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, they were not able to drink the nectar. Text number 2. O king, after the Supreme Personality of Godhead had brought to completion the affairs of churning the ocean and feeding the nectar to the demigods who are his dear devotees, he left the presence of them all and was carried by Garuda to his own abode. Seeing the victory of the demigods, the demons became intolerant of their superior opponents. Thus, they began to march toward the demigods with raised weapons. Text number 4. Thereafter, being enlivened because of drinking the nectar, the demigods, who are always at the shelter of the lotus feet of Narayana, used their various weapons to counteract the demons in a fighting spirit. O king, a fierce battle on the beach of the ocean of milk ensued between the demigods and the demons. The fighting was so terrible that simply hearing about it would make the hair on one's body stand on end. Whoa. Text 6. Both parties in the fight were extremely angry at heart, and in enmity they beat one another with swords, arrows, varieties of other weapons, etc. There are always two kinds of men in this universe, not only on this planet, but also in higher planetary systems. All the kings dominating planets, like the sun and moon, also have enemies like Rahu. It is because of occasional attacks upon the sun and moon that by Rahu, that eclipses take place. The fighting between the demons and the demigods is perpetual. It cannot be stopped unless intelligent persons from both sides take the Krishna consciousness. Text number 7. The sounds of the conch shells bugles, drums, berries, and gamaris, kettle drums, as well as the sounds made by the elephants, horses, and soldiers, who were both on chariots and on foot, were tumultuous. Text number 8. On that battlefield, the charioteers fought with the opposing charioteers, the infantry soldiers with the opposing infantry, the soldiers on horseback with the opposing soldiers on horseback, and the soldiers on the backs of elephants with the enemy soldiers on elephants. In this way, the fighting took place between equals. Some soldiers fought on the backs of camels, some on the backs of elephants, some on asses, some on white-faced and red-faced monkeys, some on tigers, and some on lions. In this way, they all engaged in fighting. Well, then it wasn't there. Text 10 to 12. O king, some soldiers fought on the backs of vultures, eagles, ducks, hawks, and basa birds. Some fought on the backs of timingallas, which can devour huge whales, some on the backs of sarabas, and some on buffalo, rhinoceroses, cows, bulls, jungle cows, and arunas. Others fought on the backs of jackals, rats, lizards, rabbits, human beings, goats, black deer, swans, and boars. In this way, mounted on animals of the water, land, and sky, including animals with deformed bodies, both armies faced each other and went forward. Text 13 to 15. O king, O descendants of Maharaj Pandu, the soldiers of both the demigods and demons were decorated by canopies, colorful flags, and umbrellas with handles made of valuable jewels and pearls. They were further decorated by fans made of peacock feathers and by other fans also. The soldiers also. The soldiers, their upper and lower garments waving in the breeze, naturally looked very beautiful, and in the light of the glittering sunshine, their shields, ornaments, and sharp, clean weapons appeared dazzling. Thus, the ranks of soldiers seemed like two oceans with bands of aquatics. Text number 16 to 18. For that battle, the most celebrated commander in chief, Maharaj Bali, son of Virochan, was seated on a wonderful airplane named Harivilas. O king, this beautifully decorated airplane had been manufactured by the demon Maya and was equipped with weapons for all types of combat. It was inconceivable and indescribable. Indeed, it was sometimes visible and sometimes not. Seated on this airplane under a beautiful protective umbrella and being fanned by the best of chamaras, Maharaj Bali, surrounded by his captains and commanders, appeared just like the moon rising in the evening, illuminating all directions. Text 19 to 24. Surrounding Maharaj Bali on all sides were the commanders and captains of the demons, sitting on their respective chariots. Among them were the following demons: Namuchi, Sambara, Vana, Viprachiti, Ayo Mukha, Dvimurta, Kalan Naba, Praheti, Heti, uh, Ilvala, Sakuni, Bhuta Santapa, Va Chiradamstra, Virochana, Harivilas, Sankusira, Kapila, Mega Dundubi, Taraka, Chakradrik, Sumba, Nisumba, Jamba, Utkala, Arista, Arestanemi, Tripurad, Tripuradipa, Maya, the sons of Loma, the Kalinas, and Nivata Kavacha. All of these demons had been deprived of their share of effort and had shared merely in the labor of churning the ocean. Now they fought against the demigods, and to encourage the armies, they made a tumultuous sound like the roaring of lions and blew loudly on conch shells. Vala bit Lord Indra upon seeing the situation of this of his ferocious rivals, became extremely angry. Text 25. Sitting on Airavata, an elephant who can go anywhere and who holds water and wine in reserve for showering, Lord Indra looked just like the sun rising from Udayagiri, where there are reservoirs of water. Purple, I should have called it. On the top of the mountain called uh, Udayagiri are large lakes from which water continuously pours in waterfalls. Similarly, Indra's carrier, Airavata, holds water and wine in reserve that showers it in the direction of Lord Indra. Thus, Indra, king of heaven, sitting on the back of Airavata, appeared like the brilliant sun rising above Udayagiri. Text 26. Surrounding Lord Indra, king of heaven, were the demigods, seated on various types of vehicles and decorated with flags and weapons. Present among them were Vayu, Agni, Varuna, and other rulers of various planets, along with their associates. Text 27. The demigods and demons came before each other and reproached one another with words piercing to the heart. Then they drew near and began fighting face to face in pairs. Text 28. O king, Maharaj Bali fought with Indra, Kartikeya with Taraka, Varuna with Heti, Mitra with Raheti. Text 29. Yamaraj fought with Kalanaba, Vishwakarma with Maya Danava, Savasta with Sambara, and the sun god with Virochana. Text 30 to 31. The demigod Aparajita fought with Namuchi and The two Ashwini Kumara brothers fought with Parva. The sun god fought with the 100 sons of Maharaj Bali, headed by Bana, and the moon god fought with Rahu. The demigod controlling air fought with Pulama, and Sumba and Nisumba fought with the supremely powerful material energy, Durga Devi, who is called Bhadra Kali. Text 32 to 34. O Maharaj Parikshit, suppressor of enemies, Arindama, Lord Shiva fought with Jamba, and Viva Vasu fought with Mahishasura. Ilvala fought with his brother Vataki, fought the sons of Lord Brahma. Durmarsa fought with Cupid, the demon Utkala with the Matrika demigoddesses. Brihaspati with Sukracharya, and Sanaishara, Saturn with Narakusura. The Maruts fought Nivata Kavacha. The Vasus fought the Kalakei demons. The Viva Deva demigods fought the Pol Loma demons, and the Rudras fought the Krodha Vasa demons who were victims of anger. Text 35. All of these demigods and demons assembled on the battlefield with a fighting spirit and attacked one another with great strength. All of them desiring victory, they fought in pairs, hitting one another severely with sharpened arrows, swords, and lances. Text 36. They severed one another's heads, using weapons like Usundis, chakras, clubs, wristis, patisas, saktis, ulmukas, rasas, parasvadas, nistri nisas, lances, padigdas, woodgaras, and palas. Text 37. The elephants, horses, charioteers, infantry soldiers, and various kinds of carriers, along with their riders, were slashed to pieces. The arms, thighs, necks, and legs of the soldiers were severed, and their flags bows, armor, and ornaments were torn apart. Because of the impact on the ground of the legs of the demons and demigods and the wheels of the chariots, particles of dust flew violently into the sky and made a dust cloud that covered all directions of outer space as far as the sun. But when the particles of dust were followed by drops of blood being sprinkled all over space, the dust cloud could no longer float in the sky. Purport. The clouds of dust covered the entire horizon, but when drops of blood sprayed up as far as the sun, the dust cloud could no longer float in the sky. A point to be observed here is that although the blood is stated to have reached the sun, it is not said to have reached the moon. Apparently, therefore, as stated elsewhere in Srimad Bhagavatam, the sun, not the moon, is the planet nearest the earth. We have already discussed this point in many places. The sun is first, then the moon, then Mars, Jupiter, and so on. The sun is supposed to be 93 million miles above the surface of the earth. And from the Srimad Bhagavatam, we understand that the moon is 1,600,000 miles above the sun. Therefore, the distance between the Earth and the moon would be about 95 million miles. So, if a space capsule were traveling at the speed of 18,000 miles per hour, how could it reach the moon in 4 days? At that speed, going to the moon would take at least 7 months. That a space capsule on a moon excursion has reached the moon in 4 days is therefore impossible. That means that they never went to the moon. In the course of the battle, the warfield became strewn with the severed heads of heroes, their eyes still staring and their teeth still pressed against their lips in anger. Helmets and earrings were scattered from these severed heads. Similarly, many arms, decorated with ornaments and clutchings, various weapons were strewn here and there, as were many legs and thighs, which resembled the trunks of elephants. Text 40. Many headless trunks were generated on that battlefield. With weapons in their arms, those ghostly trunks, which could see with the eyes in the fallen heads, attacked the enemy soldiers. Boy, I mean, very scary. Purport. It appears that the heroes who died on the battlefield immediately became ghosts, and although their heads had been severed from their bodies, new trunks were generated. And these new trunks, seeing with the eyes in the severed heads, began to attack the enemy. In other words, many ghosts were generated to join the fight, and thus new trunks appeared on the battlefield. Text 41. Maharaja Bali then attacked Indra with 10 arrows and attacked Airavata, Indra's carrier elephant, with 3 arrows. With 4 arrows, he attacked the 4 horsemen guarding Airavata's legs, and with 1 arrow, he attacked the driver of the elephant. Purport. The words Vahan refer to the soldiers on horseback who protect the legs of the carrier elephant. According to the system of military arrangement, the legs of the elephants bearing the commander were also protected. Text 42. Before Bali Maharaj's arrows could reach him, Indra, king of heaven, who is expert in dealing with arrows, smiled and counteracted the arrows with arrows of another type, known as Bala, which were extremely sharp. Text 43. When Bali Maharaj saw the expert military activities of Indra, he could not restrain his anger. Thus, he took up another weapon, known as Shakti, which blazed like a great firebrand. But Indra cut that weapon to pieces while it was still in Bali's hand. Text 44. Thereafter, one by one, Bali Maharaja used a lance, rasas, tomara, ristis, and other weapons, but whatever weapons he took up, Indra immediately cut them to pieces. Text 45. My dear king, Bali Maharaj then appeared and resorted to demoniac illusion. A giant mountain generated from illusion then appeared above the heads of the demigod soldiers. Text 46. From that mountain fell trees blazing in a forest fire, chips of stone with sharp edges like picks, also fell and smashed the heads of the demigod soldiers. Text 47. Scorpions, large snakes, and many other poisonous animals, as well as lions, tigers, boar, and great elephants, all began falling upon the demigod soldiers, crushing everything. Text 48. O my king, many hundreds of male and female carnivorous demons, completely naked and carrying tridents in their hands, then appeared, crying the slogans, cut them to pieces, pierce them. Oh, sounds pretty miserable to me. 49. Fierce clouds, harassed by strong winds, then appeared in the sky, rumbling very gravely with the sound of thunder. They began to shower live coals. Text 50. A great devastating fire created by Bali Maharaj began burning all the soldiers of the demigods. This fire, accompanied by blasting winds, seemed as terrible as the Samvartaka fire, which appears at the time of dissolution. Text 51. Thereafter, whirlpools of sea waves, agitated by fierce blasts of wind, appeared everywhere before everyone's vision in a furious flood. Text 52. Evam Daityar Mahamayur Alaksya Gatibhi Rane Shriyam Nasu Mai Asu Visedu Sura Sain Ika. While this magical atmosphere in the fight was being created by the invisible demons, who were expert in such illusions, the soldiers of the demigods became morose. Text 53. O king, when the demigods could find no way to counteract the activities of the demons, they wholeheartedly meditated upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the creator of the universe, who then immediately appeared. Text 54. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose eyes resembled the petals of a newly blossomed lotus, sat on the back of Garuda, spreading his lotus feet over Garuda's shoulders, dressed in yellow, decorated by the Kostuba gem and the goddess of fortune, and wearing an invaluable helmet and earrings. The Supreme Lord, holding various weapons in his 8 hands, became visible to the demigod. 8 hands, amazing. Text 55. Tasman Praviste Surya Kuta Karma Macha. Maya, excuse me. As the dangers of a dream cease when the dreamer awakens, the illusions created by the jugglery of the demons were vanquished by the transcendental power of the Supreme Personality of Godhead as soon as he entered the battlefield. Indeed, simply by remembrance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one becomes free from all dangers. 656. O king, when the demon Kalanemi, who was carried by a lion, saw that the Supreme Personality of Godhead carried by Garuda was on the battlefield, the demon immediately took his trident, whirled it, and discharged it at Garuda's head. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, the master of the three worlds, immediately caught the trident, and with the very same weapon he killed the enemy Kalanemi, along with his carrier, the lion. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. In this regard, Srila Madhvacharya says, Kalanemi adaya sarve Karina Nihata Api Sukren Odrij Vita Santa Punas Tinaiba Patita. Kalanemi and all other demigods were killed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari. And when Sukracharya, their spiritual master, brought them back to life, they were again a they were again killed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Text 57. Thereafter, two very powerful demons named Mali and Sumali were killed by the Supreme Lord, who severed their heads with his fist. Then Morgyavan, another demon, attacked the Lord with his sharp club. The demon, who was roaring like a lion, attacked Garuda, the lord of the birds, who are born from eggs. But the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the original person, used his disc to cut off the head of that enemy also. Thus, in the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 8th canto, 10th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled The Battle Between the Demigods and the Demons. Chapter 11. King Indra annihilates the demons. As described in this chapter, the great saint Narada Muni, being very compassionate to the demons who had been killed by the demigods, forbade the demigods to continue killing. Then Sukracharya, by his mystic power, renewed the lives of all the demons. Having been graced by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the demigods began fighting the demons again with renewed energy. King Indra released his thunderbolt against Bali, and when Bali fell, his friend Jambasura attacked Indra, who then cut off Jambasura's head with his thunderbolt. Then Narada Muni learned that Jambasura had been killed. He informed Jambasura's relatives Namuchi, Mala, and Palaka, who then went to the battlefield and attacked the demigods. Indra, king of heaven, severed the heads of Bala and Paka and released the weapon known as Ulisa, the thunderbolt, against Namuchi's shoulder. The thunderbolt, however, returned unsuccessful, and thus Indra became morose. At that time, an unseen voice came from the sky. The voice declared, "A dry or wet weapon cannot kill Namuchi." Hearing this voice, Indra began to think of how Namuchi could be killed. He then thought of foam, which is neither moist nor dry. Using a weapon of foam, he was able to kill Namuchi. Thus Indra and the other demigods killed many demons. Then, at the request of Lord Brahma, Narada went to the demigod and forbade him to kill the demons any longer. All the demigods then returned to their abodes, following the instructions of Narada, whatever demigods remained alive on the battlefield took Bali Maharaja to Asra Mountain. There, by the touch of Sukracharya's hand, Bali Maharaj regained his senses and consciousness, and those demons whose heads and bodies had not been completely lost were brought back to life by the mystic power of Sukracharya. Text number 1. So we're on chapter 11. King Indra annihilates the demons. Text number 1 says, Sukadeva Goswami said, thereafter, by the supreme grace of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Hari, all the demigods headed by Indra and Vayu were brought back to life Being enlivened, the demigods began severely beating the very same demons who had defeated them before. Text number 2. When the most powerful Indra became angry, he took his thunderbolt in hand to kill the Maharaj of Bali. The demons began thinking, alas, alas. Text 3. Super, sober, and sober and tolerant and well equipped with paraphernalia for fighting. Bali Maharaj moved before Indra on a great battlefield. King Indra, who always carries the thunderbolt in his hand, rebuked Bali Maharaj as follows. Text number 4. Indra said, "O rascal, as a cheater sometimes binds the eyes of a child and takes away his possession, you are trying to defeat us by displaying some mystic power, although you know that we are the masters of all such mystic powers." Text number 5. Those fools and rascals who want to ascend to the upper planetary system by mystic power or mechanical means, or who endeavor to cross even the upper planets and achieve the spiritual world or liberation, I cause to be sent to the lowest region of the universe. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. There are undoubtedly different planetary systems for different persons. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 14.18, Urdhvam Gachanti Sattva Sta. Persons in the mode of goodness can go to the upper planets. Those in the mode of darkness and passion, however, are not allowed to enter the higher planet. The word Divam refers to the higher planet, a higher planetary system known as Swargaloka. Indra, king of the higher planetary system, has the power to push down any conditioned soul attempting to go from the lower to the higher planet without proper qualification. The modern attempt to go to the moon is also an attempt by inferior men to go to Swarga Loka by artificial mechanical means. Now, that's a very important statement. People think that they can just go to the moon with some kind of a rocket. It's not that easy. And by the way, although the Americans claimed that they went to the moon 50, 60 years ago, and they were claiming that, there'd be regular moon excursions in the future, it's never happened, which means that they never went to the moon in the first place. This attempt cannot be, let's see. The modern attempt to go to the moon is also an attempt by inferior men to go to Swargaloka by artificial mechanical means. This attempt cannot be successful. There it is. From this statement of Indra, it appears that anyone attempting to go to the higher planetary systems by mechanical means, which are here called Maya, is condemned to go the hellish, which are here called Maya, is condemned to go the hellish planets in the lower portion of the universe. To go to the higher planetary system, one needs sufficient good qualities. A sinful person situated in a mode of ignorance and addicted to drinking, meat eating, and illicit sex will never enter the higher planets by mechanical means. Wow. That means that you have to have spiritual qualifications to go to the higher planets. We just can't go. A sinful person situated in a mode of ignorance and addicted to drinking, meat eating, and illicit sex will never enter the higher planets by mechanical means. Wow, that's a very important statement. Text 6. Today, with my thunderbolt, which has hundreds of sharp edges, I, the same powerful person, shall sever your head from your body. Although you can produce so much jugglery through illusion, you are endowed with a poor fund of knowledge. Now, try to exist on this battlefield with your relatives and friends. Text number 7. Bali Maharaj replied, all those present on this battlefield are certainly under the influence of eternal time, and according to their prescribed activities, they are destined to receive fame, victory, defeat, and death, one after another. If one is victorious on the battlefield, he becomes famous, and if one is not victorious, he is defeated. He may die. Both victory and defeat are possible, whether on such a battlefield as this or on the battlefield of the battlefield of the struggle for existence. Everything takes place according to the laws of nature. Prakrite kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvasa. Since everyone, without exception, is subject to the modes of material nature, whether one is victorious or defeated, he is not independent, but is under the control of material nature. While the Maharaja, therefore, was very sensible, he knew that the fighting was arranged by eternal time and that under the time's influence, one must accept the results of one's own activities. Therefore, even though Indra uh, threatened that he would now kill Bali Maharaj by releasing the thunderbolt, Bali Maharaj was not at all afraid. This is the spirit of a Kshatriya. Yud He Chapi Apalayantam Apalayan Nam. Bhagavad Gita 18:43. A Kshatriya must be tolerant in all circumstances, especially on the battlefield. Thus, Bali Maharaja asserted that he was not at all afraid of death, although he was threatened by such a great personality as the King of Heaven. Text 8. Seeing the movements of time, those who are cognizant of the real truth neither rejoice nor lament for different circumstances. Therefore, because you are jubilant due to your victory, you should be considered not very learned. Purport of Srila Prabhupada. Bali Maharaja knew that Indra, king of heaven, was extremely powerful, certainly more powerful than he himself. Nonetheless, Bali Maharaja challenged Indra by saying that Indra was not a very learned person. In Bhagavad Gita 2.11, Krishna rebuked Arjuna by saying, Asochan ambasochastvam pragna vadams chabasase gatasam agatasam cha nan sochanti pandita. While speaking learned words, you are mourning for what is not worthy of grief. Those who are wise lament neither for the living nor the dead. Thus, as the king, thus as Krishna challenged Arjuna by saying that he was not a pandita or a learned person, Bali Maharaj also challenged King Indra and his associates in this material world. Everything happens under the influence of time. Consequently, for a learned person who sees how things are taking place, there is no question of being sorry or happy because of the waves of material nature. After all, since we are being carried away by these waves, what is the meaning of being jubilant or morose? One who is fully conversant with the laws of nature is never jubilant or morose because of nature's activity. In Bhagavad Gita 2.14, Krishna advises that one be tolerant. Tamsatiksha Svabharata. Following this advice of Krishna's 100, not one should, okay, wait a minute. Tamsatiksha Svabharata. Following this advice of Krishna's, one should not be morose or unhappy because of circumstantial changes. This is the symptom of a devotee. A devotee carries out his duty in Krishna consciousness and is never unhappy in awkward circumstances. He has full faith that in such circumstances, Krishna protects his devotee. Therefore, a devotee never deviates from his prescribed duty of devotional service. The material qualities of jubilation and moroseness are present even in the demigods, who are very highly situated in the upper planetary system. Therefore, when one is undisturbed by the so-called favorable and unfavorable circumstances of this material world, it should be understood. No, he should be understood to be Brahma Bhuta or self-realized. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 1854, Brahmabhuta Prasanatma na sochati na kakshati. One who is transcendently situated at once realizes the Supreme Brahman and becomes fully joyful. When one is when one is undisturbed by material circumstances, he should be understood to be on the transcendental stage, above the reactions of the three modes of material nature. Text number 9. You demigods think that your own selves are the cause of your attaining fame and victory. Because of your ignorance, saintly persons feel sorry for you. Therefore, although your words afflict the heart, we do not accept them. Sukadeva Goswami said, after thus rebuking Indra, king of heaven, with sharp words, Bali Maharaj, who could subdue any other hero, drew back to his ear the arrows known as Narachas, and attacked Indra with these arrows. Then he again chastised Indra with strong words. Text 11. Since Maharaj Bali's rebukes were truthful, King Indra did not at all become sorry. Just as an elephant beaten by its driver's rod does not become agitated. Text 12. Praharat kurisam tasma amogam paramardana sayano nyapatad bhumo chinna vaksha ivachara. When Indra, the defeater of enemies, released his infallible thunderbolt, scepter at Bali Maharaj with the desire to kill him, Bali Maharaj indeed fell to the ground with his airplane, like a mountain with its wings cut off. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. In many descriptions in Vedic literature, it is found that mountains also fly in the sky with wings. When such mountains are dead, they fall to the ground, where they stay as very large dead bodies. Ooh, terrible. Text 13. When the demon Jambasura saw that his friend Bali had fallen, he appeared before Indra, the enemy, just to serve Bali Maharaj with friendly behavior. Text 14. The greatly powerful Jambasura, carried by a lion, approached Indra and forcibly struck him on the shoulder with his club. He also struck Indra's elephant. Text 15. Being beaten by Jambasura's club, Indra's elephant was confused and aggrieved. Thus it touched his knees to the ground and fell unconscious. Text 16. Thereafter, Matali, Indra's chariot driver, brought Indra's chariot, which was drawn by 1,000 horses. Indra then left his elephant and got on the chariot. Text 17. Appreciating Matali's service, Jambasura, the best of the demons, smiles. Nonetheless, he struck Matali in the battle with a trident of blazing fire. Text 18. Although the pain was extremely severe, Matali tolerated it with great patience. Indra, however, became extremely angry at Lavashura, who struck. Uh, although the pain was extremely severe, Matali tolerated it with great patience. Indra, however, became extremely angry at Jambasura. He struck Jambasura with his thunderbolt and thus severed his head from his body. Wow, a lot of heads falling down here. Text 19. When Narada Rishi informed Jambasura's friends and relatives that Jambasura had been killed, the three demons named Namuchi, Bala, and Baka arrived on the battlefield in great haste. Text 20. Vachubihi, rebuking Indra with harsh, cruel words that were piercing to the heart, these demons showered him with arrows, just as torrents of rain wash a great mountain. Wow, that's amazing. Text 21. Quickly handling the situation on the battlefield, the demon Bala put all of Indra's 1,000 horses into tribulation by simultaneously piercing them all with an equal number of arrows. Text 22. Paka, another demon, attacked both the chariot with all its paraphernalia and the chariot driver, Matali, by fitting 200 arrows to his bow and releasing them all simultaneously. This was indeed a wonderful act on the battlefield. Text 23. Then Namuchi, another demon, attacked Indra and injured him with 15 very powerful golden feathered arrows, which roared like a cloud full of water. Text 24. Other demons covered Indra, along with his chariot and chariot driver, with incessant showers of arrows, just as clouds cover the sun in the rainy season. Text 25. The demigods, being severely oppressed by their enemies and being unable to see Indra on the battlefield, were very anxious. Having no captain or leader, they began lamenting like traders in a wrecked vessel in the midst of the ocean. Wow. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. From this statement, it appears that in the upper planetary system there is shipping, and that traders there engage in navigation as their occupational duty. Sometimes, as on this planet, these traders are shipwrecked in the middle of the ocean. And it appears that uh, it appears that even in the upper planetary system, such calamities occasionally take place. The upper planetary system in the creation of the Lord is certainly not vacant or devoid of living entities. From Srimad Bhagavatam, we understand that every planet is full of living entities. Just as Earth is, there is no reason to accept that on the other planetary systems there are no living entities. Yeah, there's no reason to think that. Text 26. Thereafter, Indra released himself from the cage of the network of arrows, appearing on his chariot, flag, horses, and chariot driver, and thus, pleasing the sky, the earth, in all directions, he shone effulgently like the sun at the end of night. Indra was brought, and what Indra was bright and beautiful in the vision of everyone. Text 27. When Indra, who is known as Vajradhara, the carrier of the thunderbolt, saw his own soldiers so oppressed by the enemies of the battlefield, he became very angry. Thus, he took up his thunderbolt to kill the enemies. O King Parikshit, King Indra used his thunderbolt to cut off the heads of both Bala and Paka in the presence of all their relatives and followers. In this way, he created a very fearful atmosphere on the battlefield. Text 29. O king, when Namuchi, another demon, saw the killing of both Bala and Paka, he was full of grief and lamentation. Thus, he angrily made a great attempt to kill Indra. Text 30. Being angry and roaring like a lion, the demon Namuchi took up a spear, a stainless steel spear, which was bound with bells and decorated with ornaments of golden, uh, ornaments of gold. He loudly cried, "Now you are killed!" Thus coming before Indra to kill him, Namuchi released his weapon. Text 31. O king, when Indra, king of heaven, saw this very powerful spear falling toward the ground like a blazing meteor, he immediately cut it to pieces with his arrows. Then, being very angry, he struck Namuchi's shoulders with his thunderbolt to cut off Namuchi's head. Namuchi's head. Text 32. Although King Indra hurled his thunderbolt to Namuchi with great force, it could not even pierce his skin. It is very wonderful that the famed thunderbolt that had pierced the body of Vritrasura could not even slightly injure the skin of Namuchi's neck. That is exceptional. Text 33. When Indra saw the thunderbolt return from the enemy, he was very much afraid. He began to wonder whether this had happened because of some miraculous superior power. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Indra's thunderbolt is invincible, and therefore, when Indra saw that it had returned without doing any injury to Namuchi, he was certainly very much afraid. Text 34. Indra thought, formerly, when many mountains flying in the sky with wings would fall to the ground and kill people, I cut their wings with this same thunderbolt. Yeah, and in previous times, there were uh, mountains flying in the sky. Just imagine how dangerous that is. A whole mountain flying in the sky. Very, very dangerous. And when many mountains flying in the sky with wings would fall to the ground and kill people, I cutting their wings with this same thunder, with wings would fall to the ground and kill people. I cut their wings with this same thunderbolt. That means they can't fly around anymore. Vitrasura was the essence of the austerities undergone by Twasta. Yet, the thunderbolt killed him. Indeed, not only he, but also many other stalwart heroes, whose very skin could not be injured even by all kinds of weapons, were killed by the same thunderbolt. Text 36. But now, although the same thunderbolt was being released against a less important demon, it has been ineffectual. Therefore, although it was as good as a Brahmastra, it has now become useless like an ordinary rod. I shall therefore hold it to no longer. I shall therefore hold it no longer. Sukadeva Goswami continued, while the morose Indra was lamenting in this way, an ominous, unembodied voice said from the sky, this demon, Namuchi, is not to be annihilated by anything dry or moist. Text 38. The voice also said, O Indra, because I have given this demon the benediction that he will never be killed by any weapon that is dry or moist, you have to think of another way to kill him. Text 39. I think we're way over time now. Is that right?
Yeah, we are little over time.
Yeah, I think I'll just do one or two more. So, the voice also said, O Indra, because I have given this demon the benediction that he will never be killed by any weapon that is dry or moist, you have to think of another way to kill him. Text 39. After hearing the ominous voice, Indra, with great attention, began to meditate on how to kill the demon. He then saw that foam would be the means, for it is neither moist nor dry. Text 40. Thus Indra, king of heaven, severed Namuchi's head with a weapon of foam, which was neither dry nor moist. Then all the sages satisfied Indra, the exalted personality, by showering flowers and garlands and almost covering him. Purple. In this regard, the Shruti mantras say, Apam Fena Namuche Sira Indro Darayat. Indra killed Namuchi with watery foam, which is neither moist nor dry. Wow. Text 41. Vishwa Vasu and Paravasu, the two chiefs of the Gandharvas, sang in great happiness. The kettle drums of the demigods sounded, and the Apsaras danced in jubilation. Vayu, Agni, Varuna, and other demigods began killing the demons who opposed them, just as lions kill deer in a forest. Text 43. O king, when Lord Brahma saw the imminent total annihilation of the demons, he sent a message with Narada, who went before the demigods to make them stop fighting. Text 44. The great sage Narada said, all of you demigods are protected by the arms of Narayana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and by his grace you have gotten the nectar. By the grace of the goddess of fortune, you are glorious in every way. Therefore, please stop this fighting. That's a big statement. Please stop this fighting. Text 45. Sri Sukadev Goswami said, accepting the words of Narada, the demigods gave up their anger and stopped fighting. Being praised by their followers, they returned to their heavenly planets. Text 46. Following the order of Narada Muni, whatever demons remained on the battlefield took Bali Maharaj, who was in a precarious condition, to the hill known as Asta Giri. Text 47. There, on that hill, Sukracharya brought to life all dead demoniac soldiers who had not lost their heads, trunks, and livers. He achieved this by his own mantra known as Sanjivani. Text 48. Bali Maharaj was very experienced in universal affairs. When he regained his senses and memory by the grace of Sukracharya, he could understand everything that had happened. Therefore, although he had been defeated, he did not lament. Well, that should be our culture. We should be defeated, but we should not lament. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. It is significant that Bali Maharaj is here said to be very experienced. Although defeated, he was not at all sorry, for he knew that nothing can take place without the sanction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. See, that's very important. Since he was a devotee, he accepted his defeat without lamentation, as stated by the Supreme Personality of Godhead in Bhagavad Gita 2.47, Karmani evadikaras te ma valeshu kadashana. Everyone in Krishna consciousness should execute his duty without regard for victory or defeat. One must execute his duty as ordered by Krishna or his representative, the spiritual master. Anukuyena Krishnana Silanam Bhaktir Uttama. In first class devotional service, one always abides by the orders of and will of Krishna. Thus end the Bhakti Vedanta purports of the 8th chapter, 11th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled King Indra annihilates the demons. I think we'll stop right there. Thank you very much. If there are any questions or comments, you can make them now. And just see, after all that fighting, Sukracharya brought to life all the dead demoniac soldiers who had not lost their heads, and trunks and limbs. He achieved this by his own mantra known as Sanjivani. It's good to have that mantra, the Sanjivani. They can get your head put back on. Okay, I guess we'll stop right there. Yes.
One question, Maharaj. Maharaj, in these chapters, there's a lot of information about the fighting details. So, what are the key learnings we can learn from this so much detail?
There's no use fighting because it just leads to what you would call a a it just leads to more fighting. You have to learn how to control the mind and the senses and avoid fighting. Otherwise, it just keeps going on and on and on. Never ends. So at one point, intelligent people make the decision, let's not fight anymore. Let's make friendship and live peacefully. Let people live peacefully and so that they can make spiritual advancement. We don't want to cut off any more heads. There was a lot of head cutting in this part of the Bhagavatam. Just wait, it says here, there on that hill, Sukacharya brought to life all the dead demoniac soldiers who had lost their heads, trunks, and limbs. He achieved it by his own mantra known as Sanjivani. Well, I don't see that today, but actually, um, we should understand that fighting will never lead to a solution.
It leads to more fighting. Because
Yeah,
he kills some people and then the other people come.
exactly. It never stops.
It's exactly like a movie.
Yeah. Haribol. Oh, glory to Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna Maharaj,
Yes.
I have a question. Is the Sanjeevani that's mentioned here
Yeah.
any way connected to the modern science, medicine and surgery, like which also kind of sometimes bring people back to life in a limited way? Is that any way connected, Maharaj, or are they separate?
I don't know. Obviously, this type of medical, what do you would call, medical, well, no, this is different. This is done by mantra. The Sanjivani is done by mantra. So obviously, it's much more elevated science than what is going on today. Yeah.
Limited science.
Yeah, how can they save a person after they've lost their heads and trunks and limbs? Obviously, there has to be some supernatural, knowledge, and therefore all these things are happening by mantra. So we don't have that knowledge anymore, unfortunately. And by the way, if you kill so many people and then you bring them back alive again, that doesn't mean that means that it's no use trying to kill them. Haribol, or worship Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama.
One question, Maharaj.
Yeah.
In the last verse, the last line of the purport.
Yeah.
It says, in first class devotional service, one always abides by the orders and the will of the Krishna. So my question is how to get this conviction.
Well, that's why we're reading all this information. We get that conviction by hearing the histories. You see, you learn from histories, and you learn not to make the same mistake over and over again. So that's not very intelligent to make the same mistakes over and over again. So that's what we learn. That's knowledge. In other words, real knowledge is not making the same mistake over and over again. What is not very intelligent is to make the same mistakes. But that's what's going on now in the material world, and people don't learn from their from history. They make the same mistakes over and over again because they don't have any control of their mind or their senses. Therefore, they make the same mistakes over and over again. You can see, even in very ancient times, there was always fighting going on and killing. Today, there's still fighting and killing going on. So obviously, people haven't learned from history, and they haven't learned how to control the mind and senses. That's what Krishna consciousness is all about. We learn to control the mind and the senses and keep them focused on Krishna and engaging in devotional service. If we don't do that, then we fall into this terrible situation where there's always fighting, there's jealousy, there's anger, there's all kinds of mean things going on because people don't learn from history. If we can't learn from history, that means we're very ignorant people. Look, they had World War One. After World War One, so many people died. And they said there won't be any more war. And 20 years later, there was another World War. So it doesn't stop, unfortunately, because people don't learn the lessons. They keep repeating the same ignorance, which is sad, very, very sad. Anyway, we will be the small number of people who understand how to control the mind and the senses. And that way we avoid all this nonsense. Otherwise, we will be just the same as the karmis. Haribol.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Haribol, Haribol. Thank you.
Okay, Maharaj.